So when you are running the Fed in a pandemic, are you doing it remotely from your home? I know you're now in the Fed building now, but have you been the last year or so mostly working from home, or have you been coming into the Fed and working from there?
So we had a pretty significant FOMC meeting on March 15th, which I think was a Sunday. And that was the last meeting that I did from this building. That I went home after that, and since March 15 of 2020, have mostly worked from home. And although lately I'm coming in, I find myself coming in 2, 3, 4 days a week, as a matter of fact, more than I used to. I'm not sure why that is, but that is the case. And I would tell you, it was surprising how well our business and our business model were able to adapt to doing work remotely. I think many organizations had that experience. We certainly did.
You're coming in more frequently because your wife is saying, finally, it's time to get out of the house and go to the office more. Is there some of that? Or
there may be some of that involved. There may be some of that involved. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, what have you learned as a member of the Fed, board member, that you didn't really know before that surprised you perhaps? And what have you learned about the pandemic and the way it's affected the economy that might have been a so-called lesson learned that the Fed has learned about how the economy operates in a pandemic?
Well, I'm just about to have my 9th birthday here at the Fed, so I've learned a lot in those 9 years. I think you have to master the specific economics around monetary policy, and also you've got to master payments and regulation. So there's a lot to learn. In terms of the pandemic, I would say this. The first and most important thing about the pandemic was healthcare policy, which starts with the things that we did to shut down the economy, that not we, but that the government did and that the private sector did to get the pandemic under control, and then to get people to socially distance, and then ultimately vaccines. All of that was and is more important than anything we can do. The second most important thing was fiscal policy. This was a situation where 30 million households are suddenly without an income, and Congress had to replace that. That isn't a matter for monetary policy. It works by stimulating aggregate demand by lowering interest rates. That wasn't that would become important later, but that was not what was needed. It was fiscal policy. Fiscal policy came in and made the difference in this cycle. Then us, we were third, and I think we had 3 goals from the beginning. The first of which was just a stabilize thing, which I think we seemed to stabilize markets after what we did on March 23rd of last year, and also to provide some comfort and then support the economy when the expansion began, and then over the long run try to avoid longer run damage to people's working lives and to smaller businesses going out of business and things like that. So those were the things we tried to achieve. Clearly we've learned a lot about the way pandemics work, and we hope to know more about that going forward, because we hope to have no more pandemics.